Okay, so what we're looking at here is a problem in relation to finding what's called the lowest common multiple and the highest common factor, and then getting the percentage of a number, for example, of a quantity. So the first part is, let's have a read and we'll work through the problem. So find the lowest common multiple of 8 and 12. So what we're looking for is this thing called the lowest common multiple. So the lowest common multiple. And we can abbreviate this to LCM. Now it's very important that you understand what we mean by this word here, multiple. So multiple, if we think about 8 for example, what are the multiples of 8? So you have 8, then you have 16 is the next multiple, then you have 24, then you have 32, then you have 40, then you have 48. So what's happening is we start off with this number and we increase by this number each time. So you have 8 plus 8 is 16, 16 plus 8 is 24, 24 plus 8 is 32, 32 plus 8 is 40, and then 40 plus 8 is 48. So these are multiples of 8. Now if we do exactly the same thing with 12, so the number we start off with is 12, and we get the multiples of 12. So 12 and 12 is 24, that's one multiple, and 12, so 12 and 12 is 24, and 12 is 36, and if we add 12 onto that, it's going to be 48. Okay, and then if we add 12 onto that, it's going to be 50, so 60, 72, and we can keep going on indefinitely. Now what it asks you for then, it's the lowest common multiple. Okay, so what we mean by that, so it's the lowest common multiple. So it has to be common to both. So this is all the set, well, a portion of the set of multiples of 8, and this is a portion of the set of multiples of 12. So what we're looking for, the numbers that are on this side are the lower numbers, and as you move this way you get higher numbers. Okay, so what we mean by common is that it's within this, so we have a number that's in this set and in this set, so it's common to both. Okay, so just like people in the same family have a common surname, just the numbers that are factors of two different numbers, there will be a common number there. So if we think about what is a common number between these two sets of factors, so let's have a look, and it has to be the lowest number. So we have 16 within this, so we have 16 here. Do we have 16 down here? We don't. We have 24 here and we have 24 here. Okay, so we can see here that this is the lowest common multiple between the two sets of multiples. So the lowest common multiple in this case is going to be 24. So this here is the answer. So the lowest common multiple of 8 and 12 is this number here, 24. So that's your answer to the first question. Now if we think about this second one here, what we're being asked for is what's known as find the highest common factor of 12 and 30. So we're talking about a factor here. So remember, factors are numbers that, if we think about 12, the factors of 12 are the numbers that will divide in evenly into 12. So if we think about what we're looking for then is the highest common factor. So we're looking for this highest common factor. And this can be abbreviated as HCF. H stands for highest, C stands for common, and F stands for factor. So what we want to do now is we want to get the factors of 12. So if we write down, so we'll just write down 12 here, and then underneath this, we're going to write all the factors for 12. And then we will do the same thing for 30 as well. And we'll write all the factors for 30. So basically, the numbers that are included as factors are the numbers that will divide in evenly into the number 12. So if we start off, with the numbers. So the numbers, we go from 1 and we work all the way up to 12. So if we think about 1, is 1 a factor of 12? It is, because 1 will divide in evenly into 12. So 1 is a factor. Is 2 a factor? 2 will divide in evenly into 12. It goes 6 times. So therefore 2 is a factor. Will 3 divide in evenly into 12? It will, it'll go 4 times. So therefore 3 is a factor, we include it. Is 4 a factor? 4 will go in 3 times, so 4 is a factor as well. 5 will not divide into 12 evenly, so therefore we exclude it. It's not a factor of 12. So 6 is a factor of 12. It'll go in twice. So 6 is a factor. 7 is not a factor. It won't divide in even. 8 is not a factor. It won't divide in evenly. 9 is not a factor. 10 is not a factor. 11 is not a factor. And 12 is a factor because it'll divide in evenly into 12, or into itself. So these here are all the factors of 12. So these are all the numbers that will divide in evenly into the number 12. So then we do the same thing for 30. So we think about, we list out the numbers from 1 to 30, and we go through them and see, do they divide in evenly into 30. So 1 will divide in evenly into 30. 2 will divide in evenly into 30, it goes 15 times. 3 will divide in evenly into 30, it goes 10 times. 4 will divide in evenly into 30? It won't. 5 will divide in evenly into 30. 6 will divide in evenly into 30. Okay, 6, 5. What else have we got? So 7 is not going to divide in evenly into 30. 8, will 8 divide in evenly into 30? It won't. Will 9 divide in evenly into 30? It's not going to divide in evenly. Will 10 divide in evenly? It will. So 10. 10. 11 won't. 12 won't. 13 won't. 14 won't. 15 will. It'll go twice. So 15 is a factor. 16 won't divide in. 17 won't. 18 won't. 19 won't. 20 won't. 21 won't. 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29 won't, and then 30 will. Okay, so these are all the numbers these are all what are known as the factors of 12, or sorry, the factors of 30. So all these numbers will divide in evenly. If I divide them into this number 30, they will all divide in evenly into 30. So what we mean by dividing in evenly, it means that when you divide it in, it doesn't have any remainder, it goes in even. So just as an example, so if we get a calculator here, so let's see what we mean. So if I take 30 and I divide it by 1, so 30 divided by 1, it's equal to 30. See, it goes in evenly. Now if I take, let's say 30 and I divide it by 7, that's not going to go in evenly. It's going to leave you with a number that has a decimal place in it. So therefore the number 7 is not a factor. Is not a factor of 30. So all of these numbers here will divide in. So all of these numbers here will divide in evenly into 30 without leaving any remainder or decimal, and therefore they're known as factors. So that's what we mean by a factor. Now, back to the question, what we've been asked to do is find out the highest common factor. So basically the highest number, so we have the lower numbers on this side, and we have, as we move this way, we have higher numbers. So what we're asked for is the highest common factor. Again, it's the highest number that's common to both sets of factors. So if we think about this, so we have 1 and 1 is common. Is there a number that's bigger than 1 that's common? 2 is a number that's common, it's bigger. Is there a number bigger than 2 that's common? 3 is common to both. Is there a number bigger? 4 is common. 6 is common. 6 is common. Okay, so 6 is common. 6 is a factor of 12, and it's also a factor of 30. So is this the highest number within the two that's common to both sets of numbers? So we have 12 as a factor of 12, but 12 is not a factor of 30. So therefore, the highest common factor in this case is 6. So 6 is the highest common factor. So your answer then to part 2 of this question is the highest common factor is this number 6. So that's the highest common factor. So it's just very important that you can distinguish between the lowest common multiple, which is what we've worked through here, and then what's known as the highest common factor. A very common thing is students get these mixed up. So just be extra careful of that. Be crystal clear in your head what we mean by the lowest common multiple and the highest common factor. So if we have a look then at this next part, so copy this shape and shade 20% of it. So remember, this is a shape and it's split up into 15 parts. So the whole shape is 100%. So another way to think about this is that 100% is equal to 15 parts. So what do I mean by 15 parts? Well, if we take this shape and we count the number of parts, so we've 1, 2, 3 down, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 across. So therefore, within this whole shape, it's split up into 15 parts, so individual parts. So 100% is equal to 15 parts. What we want to know is, what is 20%? 20% is equal to what? And that's what we have to work out. So what we have to do is we take our 20% and we turn it into a fraction. So remember, a fraction, so how do we do that? Well, we just put it over 100. So any percentage, you can turn it into a fraction by putting it over 100. So 20% as a fraction is 20% over 100%. So remember, like basically what this means is that 20% cent means 100, so it's 20 out of 100. So what we're saying here is that we have 20 out of 100, or 20%. So we can write it like this as a fraction. Now we can simplify this. So we think about what number will divide into the top and into the bottom. So remember, the top is known as the numerator and the bottom is known as the denominator. And an easy way to remember that is just to think of down for denominator. So how do we change this into how do we simplify this? So 20 over 100, if we divide the top by 20 and the top number by 20 and the bottom number by 20, we will have 1 over 5. Okay, so 20% over 100 as a fraction, that you can write it like that as a fraction, and then simplified, it's 1/5. So now we have to find out what is 1/5 of 15 parts. So 1/5 of 15 parts, if you want to get, so if we want to get 1/5 of 15, so it's 1/5 of 15. So how do we do that? So what we do is, if you want to get a fraction of a number or a fraction of a quantity, you divide. So we want to get 1/5 of this quantity 15, because we have 15 parts here. So what you have to do is you take your quantity, which is 15, and you divide by the denominator, which is the number on the bottom, and you multiply by the top, which is the numerator. So what will that look like? If I want to get 1/5 of 15, that's going to be equal to 15 divided by 5, so I'm just putting it like this. This means 15 over 5 means 15 divided by 5 multiplied by 1. So where are all these parts coming from? So 15 is the quantity. I'm dividing it by the denominator, which is this number here, 5. And then I'm multiplying it by the numerator, which is this number up here, 1. So what's that equal to? Okay, well, 15 divided by 5 is equal to 3. 3 multiplied by 1 is equal to 3. So what we've worked out here is that 20% is 1/5 as a fraction, and then 1/5 of 15 is equal to 3, which means 3 parts. So 100%, that's the whole, all of the parts in the shape, is equal to 15 parts. So 20% then is a portion of all those parts, and it's a fifth, and a fifth works out at 3 parts. So if 100% is 15 parts, then 20% is equal to 3 parts. So it's equal to 3 parts. So what it asks you to do then is, so copy this shape and shade in 20% of it. So if I want to shade in 20%, I just shade in 3 parts of it. So I can just shade in this one. Okay, so I can shade this one, and it doesn't matter which 3 you shade, you can just shade in any 3 of them. So I can shade this one, and then I can shade in this one as well. And what I've done now is I have shaded in 20%, or 3 parts of this whole part. So this, like, it's just basic maths, but it's very important basics that you have a handle on this. So first of all, we've looked at percent, so we've looked at the lowest common multiple, so we've worked that out. Then we moved on to what's called the highest common factor. Then we've moved on to percentages and how to turn a percentage into a fraction. You can turn any percentage into a fraction by putting it over 100. Then you can simplify the fraction like what we've done here. And then if you want to get a fraction of a particular quantity, so we wanted to get 1/5 of 15, all you do is divide the quantity, which in this case is 15, by the denominator and multiply by the numerator, and that's what we've worked out here. And then we've just shaded in 20% of this shape. Okay, so that's lowest common multiple, highest common factor, and then working with percentages and fractions. So the next part that I want to look at then is these 2 questions here. So the first question is, arrange these fractions in order starting with the largest. So what you're trying to do then is you're trying to figure out which of the fractions are bigger, which is the biggest, and then I'm going to put it over here. Now the way that they are at the moment, you cannot compare them because they all have different denominators. So what you have to actually do is you need to change them so that they all have a common denominator. So if we have a look at these, so what we can do is, and I'll just write these out. So we have 3/4, 3 over 4. Then we have 4 over 5. 4 over 5. Then we have 7 over 10. 7 over 10. We have 3 over 5. 9 over 10. And 13 over 20. Now, in order to be able to compare these, we want them all to have the same denominator. So what we can do is we can start off with this. We can start off with this highest, this fraction here. This has the biggest denominator. So what we want to do is we want to change all of these denominators so that they're the same. So we want them all to be 20. So we have to think about, what do we have to do to the bottom number to change it to 20? So if we start off, so first of all we'll do that, we'll change them so that they all have the same denominator. Once they have the same denominator, then we can start to compare them and arrange them in the order, starting with the highest fraction to starting with the largest fraction. So we look at this fraction here, and we look at the denominator, which is the number at the bottom, and we think about, what can we do to this in order to change it to 20, as in, what can I multiply it by? So I have to multiply it by 5. Now if I multiply the bottom number by 5 to change it to 20, I have to multiply the top number by 5 to change it to 20. So what that will do is, so what we're doing is we're multiplying this number by 20, and then I'm just writing the fraction at the bottom. So 3 over 4, when it's multiplied top and bottom by 5, the 4 becomes 20, and the 3 becomes 15. So it's 15 over 20. If we move on to this one here, so this next one, what do I have to do to it? What do I have to do to the bottom to change it to 20? I have to multiply the bottom by 4. If I multiply the bottom by 4, I have to multiply the top by 4. So let's rewrite this one out. So it's going to be, I'm going to multiply the 5 by 4, which will give me 20. And then I'm going to multiply the 4 by 4. So 4 by 4, 4 and 4 is 8, 8 and 8 is 16. So it's 16 over 20. So then I move on to this one, and I think about what do I have to do to the bottom to change it to 20, what do I have to multiply it by, and then I have to do the same at the top. So I have to multiply the bottom by 2 to change the 10 to a 20, so then I have to multiply the top by 2 as well. So that's going to be, so the bottom is going to be 20, and the top is going to be 14. So I do the same here. What do I have to multiply 5 by to change it to 20? I have to multiply it by 4. So I multiply by 4, the 5 becomes 20. I have multiplied the 3 by 4 as well, and that will become 12. And then I look at this number here as well, the same thing. What do we do to the 10 to change it to 20? I have to multiply it by 2, so that becomes 20. If I multiply the 10 by 2, I have to multiply the 9 by 2 as well. So that's going to become 18. And then, so this one here, I don't have to do anything with it because it's already at 20, so I can leave it the way it is. So it's 20 over 13. So now what we have is, so we have a number, so we've just taken all of these fractions here, which are in the question, and we've changed them so that the denominators are the same, they're 20. So now what we can do is we can just compare the numbers at the top and then figure out which one is the largest. And it asks us to start, so arrange the fractions in order starting with the largest. So we start with the largest number. So it's 15 twentieths, 16 twentieths, 14 twentieths, 12 twentieths, 18 twentieths, and 13 twentieths. So which one is the biggest? So which number has the biggest? So 18 twentieths is the biggest. So we arrange it as per the questions asked. So it's 18 over 20 is the largest. So that's that one. So that's the largest. So what's the next one after that? So 18. So it's 16. So it's 16 twentieths. Okay, so 16 twentieths, which is this one. So this is 1. This is 2. So the next one then is 16 is 15 twentieths, which is this one. Okay, that's 3. Then we have 14 twentieths, which is this one. So that's 4. So 14 twentieths. What's the next one after that? So 13 then, it's going to be this one here. That is the 5th one. So 5th. So that's going to be 13 over 20. And then we have this one, which is the smallest. 12 over 20. So 6. So what we do then is we rearrange the original fractions by this, okay? So the one that's 18 twentieths, which was 9 tenths, so that goes first. 9 over 10. The next one is going to be 4/5. The next one is 3 over 4. The next one is 7 over 10. The next one is 13. 13 over 20, and then the last one is going to be 3 over 5. So what we've done is we've just arranged them. So these are the fractions we started off with. We changed them so that they had the same denominator. Then we've arranged them from largest to smallest, and then we've arranged the original fractions that we started off with from largest to smallest. So we see here, so the first one is 9 over 10, okay, which is 18/20ths. So 18/20ths is there, and then that's our 9 over 10, so we put that first. The second one then is this 16 over 20, which is 4/5, and we put that second. The next one is 15 over 20, which is 3 over 4, which is why we put this here. The next one is 7 over 10, okay, 7 over 10, which is this one, 14 over 20, so we put that there. The fifth one then is 13 over 20, which we started off with 13 over 20, which is that one. And then the last one is 12/20ths, which is 3 over 5, which is this one here. So this is your answer to that question. That's the order that it looks for. So the next part then, what's the next question? And we'll finish this one, and then that will be that first question done. So prize fund is divided between A, B, and C in the ratio of 4 is to 3 is to 2 respectively. If C's share is 1,224, find the total fund. So what we can do with this, so when we see something like this, so what we're saying is that, so a prize is divided between A, B, and C. So it's divided in the ratio of 4 is to 3 is to 2. So the 2 part here represents 1,224. Now the way that you do this is, so what you want to do is you want to figure out what fraction does 1,224 represent. Now we see here it represents 2. Now a way that you can take, if you take a ratio and it's like this, if you want to find out, so it's 2 out of how many parts. So in order to change this to a fraction, what you do is you add up these 3 numbers, and that will give you the denominator, and then this number will represent the numerator in relation to this. So what do I mean by that? So if we have a ratio, let's say that's 4 is to 3 is to 2. So if we add these 3 numbers up, so 4 plus 3 plus 2, that's 4. So 4 and 3 is 7, and 2 is 9. Okay, so when we add those all up together, so what we can say is then if we want to change this into a fraction, so this represents A, this represents B, and this represents C. So A gets 4 parts, B gets 3 parts, and C gets 2 parts. Now what we can do is we can change this into a fraction. Let me just get rid of this. So what we do is we add them all up, and that's going to form the numerator. So when we add these all up, so when we add these 3 numbers up, we get 9. So that's going to form the numerator of each of these parts. Okay, so it's going to be 9. And what we're saying is that C will get 2 ninths, B will get 3 ninths, and that A will get 4 ninths. Okay, as a fraction. Now what we know, we already know the value for 2 ninths. Okay, so it tells us in the question that 2 ninths is 1,224. That's what 2 ninths is equal to. So now if 2 ninths is equal to that, what we want to figure out is what's 9 ninths. So what we can do is if 2 ninths, so 2 ninths is equal to 1,224. What we want to do is we want to try and figure out what is 1 ninth. So 2 ninths is this, so 1 ninth is going to be equal to this number divided by 2. So I can just write it like this. So 2 over 9 is equal to 1,224. So therefore 1/9 is going to be equal to 1224 divided by 2, which is equal to, if we just figure this out, so let's clear this. So 1224 divided by 2 is equal to 612. So it's equal to €612. Okay, so this is euro. Okay, so 1/9. So if we take 1/9, then 1/9 is equal to €612. So now what we can do is we can easily start to figure out what 3/9 is and what 4/9 is. So if 1/9 is equal to €612, then 3/9, 3/9 is going to be equal to 612 multiplied by 3, and we can work these out, so that's equal to that. And then 4/9 is going to be equal to 612 multiplied by 4. Okay, so 612 multiplied by 3, so if we multiply this by 3, it's equal to 1836. So it's equal to 1836. And then if we multiply it by 4, so 612 multiplied by 4, so 612 multiplied by 4, that's equal to 2448. So it's equal to 2448. So we can say that 2/9 is this amount, 3/9 is 1836, 1836. Okay, that's 3/9, and then 4/9 is equal to 2448. So it's equal to 2448. So what we can do is, and this is euro, euro, and euro. So what we do is we just add these, we add up these. We just add them all up together. So let's do that. Okay, so let's just add these up. So let me get my calculator. So we have 2448, so 2448 plus 1836, 1836 plus 1224, 1224. So that's equal to €5,508. So it's equal to €5,508. Let's just get rid of this. So your answer then is going to be €5,508 when you add these up. So what you've been asked to do, a prize fund is divided between A, B, and C in the ratios 4:3:2. So we have 4, 3, and 2, A, B, and C. So C gets 1,224. So that's what he gets here. So that's equal to, we can change it into a fraction, that's 2/9. So how do we change it into a fraction? When we take our ratio, if we add them all up together, the number that's, when you add them all up, in this case it adds up to 9, that is the denominator or the bottom part of your fraction. And then the top part is just going to be the number that's within the ratio. So this one becomes 2/9, this one becomes 3/9, and this one becomes 4/9. So then what we can do, we know that 2/9 is equal to 1,224. So to work out what 1/9, if 2/9 is this, then 1/9 is this divided by 2, which is 612. So then we can work out, so 3/9 is equal to 3 multiplied by that, which is this amount here. So that's what B gets. And then 4/9 is this amount here multiplied by 4, which is this amount. So that's what A gets. And then to figure out what the total amount was, what we started off with, we just add these three up and we get €5,508. So that's how you do those questions. So just if you didn't get the correct answer for any of those, just go back over the question and just give it another go. Okay, thank you.